Here we are. I'm sending back what the accept header was, whether I need to load up any new style sheets or not, whether there was an error, what the system response UID is, all kinds of data we will have access to when we process the response we get back. And that all comes from in our method, we've got the URL to send it to. Any data is essentially post params, or get params, really. What type post, whether to do it asynchronously or not. If you send it not async, the rest of the page will wait for this load to finish before it moves on. But since this is async, we call primary content load. It skips past it, and this will finish. Now, given that everything in JavaScript is in a single thread, that's not entirely true, but that's how it seems. Anyway, we tell it what to do when the XHR load is complete. We tell it what to do if it was successful, and those can be two separate things. For me, when the load is complete, I go through and I remove an active and UI state active and UI state hover class and UI state focus class and I add default to these things that might have them. On success, if my error code is 0, then sometimes I do some debugging things right in my page. If the error code is 0, then we will look in an error stack. And if the error stack size is bigger than 0, then I display a nice little navigation or a nice little notification, not dissimilar to growl. So anyway, then primary content, fade it out, change some styles, change some scripts. Right here. I am now in this line here telling jQuery to find an HTML element that has the ID of primary content, fade it to 0 just in case it wasn't there yet, and do it in 0 milliseconds, and then change the HTML that is inside it to content primary, which is the value of this key here in our JSON object. So should I chase that back again, or is that understood? Then I run a couple of more things. I set a new page title based on what the XHR sends back. If there's a new body class, new body ID, I set those things. And then we run primary content show. Amazingly enough, all that does is simply fade it back in and hide our loading indicator. You didn't notice the loading indicator show up because I actually have that attached to the click, not to the hash change. The idea is that it might take a while to return content, and I don't fade content out and load new content until I get content back. but when I click, I immediately want the loading indicator to show up. Got it? So, also, on very long pages, and there can be long pages out there, when I show new content, I am scrolling the page back up to the top. I'm doing it very quickly, so it just seems to go there. But, yeah, it can be really annoying for users to be down here, and then it stay down here, but no content is related to what they saw before. So we scroll the page back up. Did I mention before that this code will be available? Anyway, so I mean, you might not be able to just drop it in, but you should be able to dissect it fairly well. Okay. That's essentially primary content load. Are there questions about that stuff specifically?
I have a question, Chris.
Sure.
How do search engines do with this type of content?
Theoretically, very well. I mean, not theoretically, but apparently, according to other people, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. One thing that it does,
What happens?
because let me show. I guess when the system is crawled,
Like, I guess if you,
all of the content is available not in XHR also at that URL.
right. So my question is, like, what does the page look like if JavaScript isn't on
Oh, sure,
the search engine?
sure. The same. Yeah. Yes.
You are actually in this example replacing entire pages. So what all this code is doing is basically going from one ugly page to another ugly page.
Yes.
And enabling the back and forth button.
That's correct.
I could do that with this, as obviously it's possible to do that without JavaScript, and it's about
Sure.
just as ugly.
Yes.
Do you have an example where it actually benefits?
Where it actually benefits. I was hoping that it might be apparent. Let me turn these back on. I was hoping that it might be apparent that given that the system here anyway sends back different areas, that we can catch whether to update content primary or your Twitter sidebar or any other area on the page. And some, or maybe not all of those things might wish to be associated with the back forward button. But using a
So
common...
if I do a semi-upload, I only upload, change part of the page, it still works with the back and forth button.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you change the hash, then if the hash gets inserted into the browser history, then that will work with the back forth button. And using a combination of essentially business rules, you can update the hash but not reload all of the content on the page, only part of it.